Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Now I will explain to you about general American values. This is a cross-cultural understanding course. Before then, I will introduce myself. My name is Adelina Syakinawaty Dongoran. My nickname is Adel. General American values. General American values is divided into 9 parts. First, freedom. Second, individualism. Third, punctuality. Fourth, voluntarism. 5, equality. 6, informality. 7, idealism. What is the practical? 8, mobility. 9, progress. A, freedom. Americans commonly regard their society as the freest and the best in the world. Americans' understanding of freedom is spurred by the founding fathers' belief that all people are equal and that the role of the government is to protect each person's basic, inalienable rights. The U.S. Constitution's Bill of Rights ensures individual rights, including provision for freedom of speech, press, and religion. No one single church dominates our country. In the U.S., there is a religious diversity. Freedom of speech adalah kebebasan berbicara. Freedom of speech, kebebasan press. Freedom of religion, kebebasan beragama. B. Individualism. America's nation of freedom focuses on the individual, and individualism has strong physiological roots in American. Thomas Jefferson believed that every individual's identity should be held sacred and that his or her dignity and integrity should not be violated. Individualism, understood not only as self-reliance but also as economic self-sufficiency, has been a central theme in American history. Frontier heroes who braved the wilderness alone, farmers whose success depended on their ability to confront the hardship of land, the resourcefulness, the celebration of the small businessman who became a financial success on his own individual proprietorship in business is still exalted as the ideal. The most important thing to understand about U.S. Americans is probably their devotion to individualism. They live to consider themselves separate individuals who are responsible for their own destinies. They have not been trained to see themselves as members of a close-knit, tightly interdependent family, religious group, tribe, nation, or other group. C. Punctuality. Punctuality is the characteristic of being able to complete a required task or fulfill an obligation before or at a previously designated time. Punctual is often used synonymously with on time. It is a common misconception that punctual and also, when talking about grammar, mean to be accurate. According to each culture, there is often an understanding about what is considered an acceptable degree of punctuality. Usually, a small amount of lateness is acceptable. This is commonly about 10 or 15 minutes in Western cultures, but this is not the case in such instances as doctor appointments or school lessons. In some cultures, such as Japanese society or in the military, there basically is no language. Some cultures have an unspoken understanding that actual deadlines are different from state deadlines. For example, it may be understood in a particular culture that people will turn up an hour later than advertised. In this case, since everyone understands that a 9 a.m. meeting will actually start around 10 a.m., no one is inconvenienced when everyone turns up at 10 a.m. In cultures which value punctuality, being late is tantamount to showing the respect for others' time and may be considered insulting. In such cases, punctuality may be enforced by social penalties, for example by excluding low-status latecomers from meeting entirely. Such a consideration can lead on to considering the value of punctuality in economics research and to considering the effect of non-punctuality on others in training theory. One, American place a high value on punctuality. If you make plans with someone, you should be there when you say you will. 3 to 5 minutes early is even better because it shows that you are really looking forward to spending time with the other person. 2. In American culture, the commitment to spend time with someone is more important than anything else that might happen. 3. Valid excuses for being late generally involve transportation problems such as being stuck in traffic, your car breaking down, inevitably missing your bus or train, or not being able to get a cab. If you realize you are going to be late, you should call the other person immediately, explain the situation, apologize, and ask if they would like to meet later or do something else another time. 4. Understand that if you are continually late or do not show up for dates, you will get a reputation as someone who does not keep your word. People consider you a liar and someone not be your friend or may not want to do business with you. Being late or not showing up is interpreted as meaning that you never wanted to go out with the person in the first place and will cause hurt feelings. 5. The rule to remember is show up a few minutes early or on time. If you must be late, phone the other person at 1 and explain why. Do not be late repeatedly and never stand someone up unless you absolutely cannot avoid it. D. Volunteerism. Volunteering is generally considered an altruistic activity and is intended to promote good or improve human quality of life, which in return produces a feeling of self-worth and respect, but not financial gain. Volunteering is also venues for skill development, socialization, and fun. It is also intended to make contacts for possible employment or for a variety of other reasons. Volunteers are highly motivated people, workers who organize themselves and others to solve a particular community problem or meet an immediate social need. Rather than waiting for someone else, usually the goal to do it. The willingness to participate in such groups is so widespread that it's out of than Americans are members of a volunteer organization. Volunteerism reflects Americans' optimistic pride in their ability to work out practical solutions themselves. Americans like to form associations of different kinds. Many volunteers are specifically trained in the areas they work, such as medicine, education, or emergency rescue. Others serve on an as-needed basis, such as in response to a natural disaster. This is volunteer in education. Second, AU pairs celebrate Earth Day by doing conservation work. Third, volunteer in emergency. Fourth, intersex-change participants prepare meals to help alleviate hunger. Equality. The Declaration of Independence states that all men are created equal. In many ways, people believe this. We can see equality is such common practice as waiting in line when we go to bank, to the post office, or to immigration. We will be asked to take a number and wait, regardless of how important or trivial our need is. We will be treated like everyone else, first come, first serve. We can also see equality in the classroom. All students are the same in the eyes of professors, and many professors view students, or particularly graduate students, as their equals. Professors may ask students to call them by their first name. U.S. Americans are generally quiet and comfortable when someone treats them with obvious deference. They dislike being the subject of open display of respect, being bowed to, being deferred to, being stretched as though they could not know warm. Is the U.S. men and women are considered equal under the law. While U.S. Americans often violate the idea in practice, they do generally assume that women and men are of respect. Women and men may differ, but they should be treated equally in all professional and social encounters. This is not to say that U.S. Americans make no distinction among themselves as a result of such factors as gender, age, wealth, or social position. They do, but the distinction are acknowledged in subtle ways. Tone of voice, order of speaking, choice of words, sitting arrangements, such are the means by which U.S. Americans knowledge status differences among themselves. F. Informally. Although equality is ignored in some parts of life, it is valued closely in others. For example, people treat one another very informally, even in the presence of great differences in age or social status. This is not a lack of respect. This is a custom in the United States. Informally is right understood as idealism is practice or democracy in action. The right of the individual balanced by his responsibilities in the basic unit is the family. The American visiting Indonesian, on the other hand, might be surprised to see that Indonesian, the parent-children relationship is the rather formal, where children have to respect their parents. Parents still have to authority. There is no equality at home. G. Idealism what is practical. Many historians believe that most of the beliefs and values which are characteristically American emerged within the context of the frontier experience. Survival in the wilderness was shifted to robust individualism. Survival experience also explains the American tendency to idealize whatever is practical. In America, what works is what counts. Inventiveness was necessary for survival. This can-do spirit is something Americans are proud of today. They like to think they are naturally born to do it yourselfers. Age mobility. As a nation of immigrants, Americans have shared from the beginning the assumption that the practical solution to a problem is to move elsewhere and make a fresh start. Mobility in America is not a sign of emptiness but optimism. Moving about from place to place in such a common step practice at most Americans take it for granted that they may live in 4 or 5 cities during their lifetime. Americans had to feel that buying a house may immobilize them forever. Progress. It is associated with the idea of freedom is the ideal of progress. The nation's progress has been measured by the timing of the frontier and industrial expansion. The desire to progress by making use of opportunities is important to Americans. In this immigrant society, progress is personally measured as family progress over generations. Many Americans can boast that which is scaling generations since their first ancestors arrived. The family status has improved. The classic American family saga is all about progress. The great-grandparents work hard and suffer poverty and alienation so that they can provide a good education for their children. The second generation, motivated by the same vision of the future and willingness to work hard and make sacrifices, pass these values to their children. The attainment of the vision of one's grandparent is part of the American dream. Okay, thank you for watching my slide presentation. Alright, this is all I can say more and I lays apologies. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.